Hello, welcome to another video, and today we're going to look at some power exercises. So these are a lot different to just strength exercises in that they're actually lighter loads and they move explosively fast. So if you make them too heavy, you can't move fast enough to do what you're meant to do with the movement. So now there's many of them. I'm just giving you a bit of a sample of some of the ones that I like or that are easiest to use, I suppose, because there's some that are really good, but not many people can do them. So the first one is a box jump, which I think most people are familiar with. So even though it's like very much a leg-based movement, you see how much my arms have to move for this to really create the swing and the drive. So as I'm loading up my legs, and I can jump up and I'm landing in a squat. So it's really the squat that makes this movement. So again, it's all to do with the speed of it, but you can see there so as I go into my landing in the squat there, so that's the start and the end point of it. Very much the same as if I was doing with a dumbbell or a barbell or any version of a squat really, but the speed of it is the secret to making it work. All right, so next one we'd look at is probably one of the most popular power exercises, and it's anything to do with medicine ball. There's always going to be a powerful one. So this is looking at rotation. So this would be the wood chop that would be done. Obviously I'm playing this at about half the speed of what it is normally, so if I just play at normal speed, so you get an idea of just how fast that is. Alright, so if I just go back, so basically this says that both of these, the box jump and this have this load up feeling, so it's that real wind up to then explode out of it. So without that wind up, I have no power. All right, so you can see here, there's the wind up, there's the step through, and the explosive rotation to it. All right, so all of the best exercises will have this big wind up. That's where some of the exercises that don't have that just focus on the concentric part are actually really inhibiting the movement from working the way it should. All right, so another one would be a squat press, which most of the time I'm using as a strength exercise, but in this version it's more of a power. Now if I had a partner with me, I'd actually be throwing this barbell at them and they'd be catching it and dropping it towards me. So again, I'm using a squat stance, and then I explode up with a pushing action. All right, so now you'll see also with my trailing leg how it rotates around, which was exactly what I did on the medicine ball throw as well. So that's where that hip rotation is really giving me the extension through the arm. So it's basically getting all of the legs that load up here, so at this point here, to explode up out through my arm. All right, so it's all in one action. So a big part of this is that hip rotation. So it looks like it's an arm exercise, but it's really a leg exercise. Obviously the arms are part of it, but it's not the thing that clinches it all together. So let's look at a couple other power exercises. Okay, so here's another exercise, quite a tricky one in some regards. With two arms kind of makes it easier and harder at the same time. So this is basically the split jerk. So it's like a really short quarter squat, but with an explosive overhead press. So let's have a look at it. So you just sort of load up in a half squat and then got to basically lock the arms out straight away. Now, ideally I try to like rotate which leg goes in front. So see Dylan this time goes left foot in front and then rotating to right foot in front. And just that explosive push. So you're basically just trying to load up the legs and explode up. So it's like just that point, you see how he's almost about to go right now. So it's just a half squat. It's not even probably a quarter squat. I'm just basically like springing up to get that explosion. And that's why it's classified as a power exercise and not a strength exercise. Not enough time under tension to build any strength. You're basically using momentum to cheat through it, which is the whole point of it. So again, difficult exercise to master at times, but really well worth it if you spend the time with it. All right, let's look at another one. Okay, so here's a regression of that last one. The single arm, it's sort of more complicated, but gives you a bit more freedom, and you'll see in a second allows that rotation so I can get like a much bigger load. Alright, so if I'm just doing a simple squat push, this is okay, but it's probably more of a strength exercise. I can't really leverage the power in it as well because it doesn't have a rotation part to it. Alright, so if I add the rotation part to it, and very much like the medicine ball one and the other one with the barbell, it allows for extra power because I've got like that. I've got like more leverage on one leg. So you see how he can really twist his body around, and his other arm. Notice how his right arm now becomes involved. So it throws down as the other arm comes up. That gives him more leverage. So you can use a significantly greater load doing it this way than I can with two arms. All right. So again, it has everything to do with the legs. The arm is definitely a part of it, but the legs and that rotational, that changes everything. It makes it a much more explosive exercise. Really, really exhausting when you do a lot of them. All right. So again, I'll probably keep the reps low, maybe 6 reps. Wouldn't be trying to do too many because then it slows it down too much. It's all about the quality of the explosion, not really like a normal strength exercise. All right, so let's have a look at another one. Okay, so it wouldn't be a power training video with at least looking at the hang clean or power clean. In this case, I'm going to look at the hang clean because it's a lot easier and a lot safer exercise. Having said that, it's still quite tricky to learn. So we'll have a quick look at it and how it works and discuss why it's good and also bad. All right, so it's a hang clean because you're starting from a deadlift position and then you're not really going all the way to the floor, and then it has that explosive sort of pull up onto the shoulders, and then if you wanted to you could add the overhead part as well. But really the first part of it is being the clean. If we just look at that, so if we're, so you're just lowering down nice and easy, and then from here is where like the whole body's got to work together, and really the legs are the key to this, especially when it's really heavy, which it should be. You're really exploding up, and you'll see at this point right here, if I just take it back ever so slow, so you'll see right at this point, if we go in real slow motion, that you'll end up right on his toes, and then there's that jumping position. So the bar's basically being really explosively lifted upwards while the body's sort of trying to sit underneath it and catch it in a squat. All right, so it's the illusion of it lifting at that high. Obviously the bar in this case is not as heavy as it should be, because we were trying to get a few in a row when we were doing it at the time. But and then at this last part is when you add that little quarter, which is what we saw with the dumbbells before, and you'll see how that's why it's a power exercise and not a strength exercise, because it's moving so quickly. I'm playing this at 1/8 of the regular speed, so that's how much I've had to slow it down so you can see it, because in real time you don't actually see it, it's so quick. But yeah, the key to it is obviously in the clean part. It's right at this point here where the heels lift off the ground. You're basically jumping, so your feet are in the air, the bar's just being explosively lifted while you can sink underneath it to then catch it in like a front squat. All right. So again, it's a really tricky exercise for most people to get the hang of. If you can do it and you're great at your technique with it, that's fine. But for the average person, it's probably there's much safer exercises to achieve the same goal. And even when you do know, it still can get a bit risky if you're not 100% with your form. So let's have a look at a couple other ones. Okay, so we looked at the standard medicine ball throw before. This is the tornado ball, so a much harder, much more explosive movement. So we'll get the left and right throw in this as well. So you can see I'm playing this at half the speed, and you can tell it looks fast. If it's not fast enough, the ball will drop towards the floor. So I'll play it again. I'll play it in real time just to give you an idea of how fast it is. All right, so that gives you you see right there, like with the rope, if it gets a little bit of slack in it, it means that you're not fast enough. For you to be fast enough, you have to be explosively keeping that rope really horizontal. and all coming through the legs and the core. So a lot harder than it looks, this one. Again, you probably a set might only last 10 to 15 seconds. You don't really want to last very long, because then it makes it an endurance exercise, which then slows it down. All right, so the whole point of it is to try and make it super, super explosive. All right, so it's a great exercise if you've got access to a tornado ball. If you don't, you can just use the standard medicine ball, which is good, but just gives you a variation that you can add to. All right, so let's look at another one. Okay, so here's a couple that are quite tricky to learn, so a bit like the hang clean. Sometimes they're not the best choice, but a lot less risk with them. Just coordination is probably the biggest issue with this, and obviously the timing. This is basically just the cable push exercise, which I've featured many times. This particular one mimics a throwing action, and if you think about a throwing action, there's no way you can do a throw slow. You just can't do it. It has to be fast. If you do it slow, it just doesn't work very well. It's not really a throw. All right. So, and again, it's basically about teaching the legs to create all of the power through the body and out the arm. So I'll play it a couple of times for you. All right, so that you can see here it's a big wind up, and again I'm playing this at half the speed of what it normally is. So just really exploding off that foot, really staying low, lift the leg up, bang, explode through. All right, so quite a advanced exercise for many. A lot of moving parts, so it's not always the best choice, but if you're really working on a throwing action for someone who's throwing sports, or anyone in sports to be honest, but this is a great exercise to learn that, especially on the non-dominant hand, because you would never throw anything on that hand. So usually the timing's all out. It's not the strength that's the problem, it's the speed and the coordination, trying to get the brain to figure out how to do that on its non-preferred side. So let's have a look at another one. Okay, so this is the other version which I've shown several times. This one's mimicking more a sprinting action. So if the previous one was more about throwing, now it's about sprinting. And again, you can't sprint slow. You can only do it fast. All right, so basically now instead of a contralateral stance, I'm in an ipsilateral stance, which means left arm and left leg are together. All right, so basically I'm just going to be exploding out of that left leg to really push onto the left arm. It's all about getting that perfect timing, really trying to make it, the legs do everything and the arms have just got to complete the job. All right, so much more tricky exercise, easier than the last one to be honest, but again quite tricky if you don't have the power in the legs to explode out of it. All right, so awesome exercise to be really good at. It's deceptively hard for the core. As much as it looks like an arm exercise, it's actually way more than that. All right, so it's a great one to really develop the power skills. Let's have a look at the last one. Okay, so the last one here is just the opposite of the previous one, which is a backward pull, and again I've featured this one many times. The biggest problem with this is not the strength, it's the timing and the positioning and just getting it fast enough. So most people just don't, they take too big a step on that bit there and they just don't pull hard enough, which really should be timed with the leg pushing back explosively fast. The point of the arm with the dumbbell is to try and create a momentum to get like a better bending action so you can utilize the glutes more. All right, but again, this one doesn't work well if you do it slow. It just has to be done quickly for the timing of it to be just right. And that's probably where most people would struggle, not so much with the strength of it, which is what normally would be the case with most strength exercises. It's actually the speed. And then when they do get it right, the biggest problem is they run out of air. So they get exhausted because it's just utilizing so many things at once. And again, with all of these, the legs are the key. So in this particular case right here, it's the left leg that's driving the whole thing. Without that doing its job, it won't matter how strong my arm is, it'll be too jerky, and I won't have the speed to step back with it. All right, so again, very deceptive exercise, a lot better choice than the hang clean in terms of complication and the risk versus reward. So This one has a lot of reward with very little risk, just the frustration of getting it wrong. All right, but I hope you get the idea of what I was trying to do with this video. There's many other exercises I could have included, but just to sort of give you a rough idea with different variations. Some were pushing, some were twisting, some were pulling, some were just jumping. So, there's a lot of agility exercises, to be honest, could almost be classified as power at times because there's a lot of jumping. So, so I could have included stacks of plyometric things if I wanted to, but, but again, sometimes they're a bit tricky to learn and they don't relate to everyone. A lot of these ones I tried to show do relate to most people, all right, and they're not as difficult to learn as some of the complex ones, other than, say, the hang clean one. All right, but yeah, if you spend the time with your power exercises, you can build some fast twitch fibers and really helps you move much more athletically, and and hopefully makes you improve to what you're looking for with your training. All right, so I hope you've enjoyed that video, and we'll see you the next time.